Welcome to your summary of today's Inside Star Citizen. In today's video, Jared and the team discuss about the long-awaited creatures being added to the game. The first one being the Merrick, and the second one being the Copion. The developers talk about how adding creatures onto these large planets will really help give them more life, a sense of scale, and immersion. Both creatures can be found in multiple different biomes. As well, their skin color will be different depending on which biome you find them in. They go on to explain that they couldn't use a lot of feathers and fur within these first few creatures, and that's the reason why we see them as mostly skin. While they didn't give us any hints and they didn't show us any art, there are plans to release more creatures in further patches. Moving on to the Copion, the developers inform us that their inspiration for it was mixing between a dog and a cat. Here's where the developers show off the different biome skins for the Copion. There's the Savannah look, then there's the forest skin, and lastly, the Arctic skin, which was inspired by snow leopards. In combat, the Copions are a formidable foe. They're faster than the player sprinting, and they're usually traveling in packs of 10 to 14. As well, each attack from a Copion can deal 25% damage. Unlike boys, Copions are programmed just like other NPCs. There's decision trees, and there's special programming for their pack formations. This makes the Copions even more dangerous when you discover them in caves. Jared brings up a very interesting question. Since the Copions are designed like NPCs, does that mean we'll find them T-posing on chairs? According to the developers, you may be able to get a Copion on a chair, but you won't see them T-posing. The developers discuss about the creation of the Copions. They talk about their thought process on how they wanted to make them look predatory. As well, they discuss the difficulties they had in creating some of their movements. For example, there was an attack that they felt was going to look really vicious, but in practice it actually made them look more weak. So they've had to go back to the drawing board a few times to tweak a lot of the different animations. While Copions are programmed like NPCs, Merricks are programmed like Boids. It's very simple and low resource programming. As a matter of fact, the developers say there's 3 simple rules to get the Merricks locking to work. 1, they need to maintain separation from one another so they don't collide. 2, they need to be able to align with each other. And then 3, there just needs to be cohesion. With all of these put together, we get now what is the Merrick flock. Then there's this wonderful segment discussing about the sound design for the Copions and the Merricks. Michael discusses about how he used different animal sounds mixed together, along with non-natural sounds like squeaky balloons and such. In my opinion, the sound design of Star Citizen is the best I've ever seen. I highly recommend that you listen to this whole segment for yourself. And of course, CIG knows their player base pretty well, and they discuss about hunting these creatures. If you hunt and kill a Merrick, then there's a little ball sack that you can get and pull out. However, if you hunt a Copion, there's a horn that you can retrieve that will be worth some good AUEC. And it was within this segment that CIG tucked a little preview for us. Here they ended up showing us our first view of the light enhancement optic. This is something that they previously discussed about in Star Citizen Live. Wrapping up the video, the developers discussed that the pipeline is pretty much created now for these creatures, which in result means that they're going to be able to create more creatures quicker and easier for future release. 1.0 was mentioned briefly as they discussed that they have some ideas of what they're going to do for that, but that does not mean that we won't see further creatures added in the meantime. And that, dear adventurers, is all the news I have for you now. Until I see you in the next video, bye-bye.